Hey guys, we're here today to talk about bobbers, in particular slip bobbers. You know, a lot of times when we start talking about bobbers, we think of kids fishing, throwing a worm out there, waiting for the bobber to go under, but it can be a little bit more complicated than that. And the main thing we want to use a float for, or a bobber, is for depth control. Whether you're fishing 5 feet, 2 feet, 20 feet, a bobber is going to help you maintain the same depth every time you cast out there. So these are your traditional styles. The big problem with these is they clip on the line and you're limited to whatever depth you set this bobber at. So if you want to fish at 15 feet, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to cast 15 feet of line out. So with a slip bobber, we can set that depth and the bobber is going to move back and forth and it's going to give you a wider range of depth options. So this is a slip bobber. You notice there's no way to attach it to the line. The line's going to run right through it and the bobber can go back and forth freely. Now, nice thing with this, you set a bobber stop at any depth you want. The bobber's always going to slide down to your hook, so you'll have no problems casting this, whether it's 2 feet or 15 feet or 20 feet. It's going to help you maintain depth control, but still be able to cast it. There's a couple different ways to set this bobber stop, and that's probably one of my #1 questions in here is how do you get these things on your line? So let me show you how to rig one of these up. We're going to use my favorites, the speed bumps. You take one out of the package. There's 5 bobber stops on each ring, and what we're going to do first is take our line, run it through this little metal wire here. What this does is it helps you thread the bobber stop on. Run it up about a foot or so. Then what you're going to do is grab this bead that's on right behind the bobber stop. You grab the bead, pull on it, and it's going to pull it onto your line. And then pull your line out of the threader. All right, your bobber stop's on there. You can set this to whatever depth you want. Let's say we're going to set it at about 3 feet. Take your slip float. Okay, this is the top here. You're going to thread it on from this end. There you go. You got your bobber on. Now this, you notice this slides up and down. The bead's there to keep the bobber stop from running into your bobber. Otherwise, it'll get jammed on there, or depending on the float you have, sometimes the bobber stop won't even hold it there. The bead's going to make sure the bobber will never go past that stop. So now we got that tied on. The last thing you're going to put is your jig or your lure or your minnow. And we've got a crappy magnet here, one of my favorites. Just tie that on, simple clinch knot or whatever your favorite knot is. We got this all set up here. You notice the bobber slides all the way down to the hook. This is going to be much easier for casting. Instead of trying to lob 6 or 8 feet of line, the bobber's going to slide right down to your hook. And then when it hits the water, it's going to go just like this. Slide right out to the bobber stop. It's going to maintain your depth. It's going to keep you right in the strike zone. So if you want to try something new this year, if you want to try fishing a slip float, stop in the Tackle Shack. Let me show you how to use one of these things. They're very simple and they're going to help you maintain your depth a lot better. We've got a lot of options available, a couple different bobber stops, so you can find one that suits you best. Everybody's got their personal favorites. We've got bobbers in a bunch of different styles, whether you're fishing little fathead minnows for crappies, or if you want to fish something bigger like down in the spillways for walleye like a shiner, or even a night crawler. We've got bobbers for that too, in weighted and unweighted versions. So stop down and we'll get you set up with a slip bobber that meets your needs. I'm Don Kelly. We'll see you next time on Talkin Tackle.